I'm about to save you thousands of dollars on your trip to New Zealand, and you're going to want to stick around to the end because these are tips I've never heard talked about anywhere else before. If you clicked on this video, it's probably because you're thinking of doing a working holiday visa here in New Zealand. Well, that's exactly what I've been doing for the last 9 months. And in this video, I'm going to share the tips that I wish I'd known months ago that can help you to save thousands of dollars and have the best time while you're here in Aotearoa. But before you even think about booking a flight, first things first, you're going to need a visa, and that's where tip number 1 comes in. The working holiday scheme in New Zealand has different maximum lengths depending on your country of residence, and it's really important to know both how long you can and want to stay for before applying. For example, being from the UK, you can apply for your visa for initially 12, 23 or 36 months, with the option to extend to a maximum of 36 months if you apply for less in the meantime. However, what they don't tell you is that extending those visas aren't free, and every time you want to extend them, you're going to have to pay the application fee all over again. And so my advice is that if you know you want to stay for 36 months from the get-go, just apply for the 36-month visa. Yes, the process takes a little bit longer, but it's going to save you potentially $500 to $1,000 per person.
So your visa's been approved, you've booked your flights to the country, and you've just landed in New Zealand. What's next?
Now, when you first land in New Zealand, you're going to be seeing stores like this, selling these fixed SIM plans. And now, I know that these can seem like a good deal to begin with, but tip number 3 is going to be to not buy one of these SIM cards. There's many other options once you get into the country. You can buy fixed term plans like this that are going to work out a lot cheaper, and you're not going to eat all of your data in the first week and then be left without any for the rest of your time here. Your other alternative is to go straight to the provider themselves, and that's going to end up even more expensive, being $60 or $70 a month. And so I definitely would recommend going for one of these digital SIM cards or one through a company like this. So you've got your visa, you're in the country, and you've got your SIM card. Well, next, you need somewhere to stay. That's where tip number 3 comes in. Not everyone is going to want to sign up to lease their own apartment, and things like hotels and hostels can very quickly add up to a lot of money. So my advice is to make use of backpacker Facebook groups. This tip isn't specific to New Zealand in general, but is more of a good practice and a good travel hack worldwide. There's a Facebook group for nearly every major city in New Zealand, and people offering rooms from a few days to a few months depending on what your needs are. Not only is this a much more budget-friendly and comfortable way to stay here in New Zealand, but it's also a great way to meet locals and to help use their knowledge to improve your stay here in the country. But if you was wanting something more flexible and very short term, there's also lots of Facebook groups that offer free accommodation in turn for house and pet sitting. Now, this isn't something that I've personally done here in New Zealand, but I did do it when I first moved to Australia, and it saved me my full first month's rent. So that's definitely something to look into as well.
Okay, so you've got your visa, you're in the country, what's next? Well, if you're going to want to work, you're going to need a bank account. Which, from my experience, this bit can be a bit tricky, because to get a bank account you first need an IDR number, which, if you're from the UK, that's New Zealand's equivalent of a national insurance number, but you can't apply for one of these until you enter the country. The process itself isn't too difficult. I'll actually leave the link in the description of the video so you can click on and apply for those numbers yourself once you've arrived in the country. But whilst the IDR application is quite straightforward, opening a bank sometimes isn't.
Now, when I first arrived in New Zealand, I had absolutely no idea what bank to go with. I jumped online and I had a look at what people were recommending, and most people were recommending a bank called ANZ. Now, I would love to recommend this bank to you, but unfortunately, I just can't. The process of opening an account with them was quite strenuous. You first have to apply online, and they then send you an appointment to go into a branch and actually open the account. However, what they don't tell you is that this appointment can be at any branch across the city, and I'd love to tell you exactly how long that process takes, but 9 months after I applied for my account the first time, I still haven't had my appointment through. So I cannot recommend ANZ, but one bank that I can recommend is Kiwi Bank. It was super simple to set up. It took about 5 minutes online, and you can then just walk into any branch that you want and walk out with a card minutes later. No waiting for an appointment. Super simple, super easy. I've had no problems with them, and I've been with them for about 8 months now. That's the one that I'd recommend. Tip number 4 is brought to you from the International Antarctic Centre, an attraction that I'm about to get into for free using this hack. The next tip that I'm going to share with you, which is one of my top ones if you're coming to New Zealand on a working holiday visa, is to get a job in tourism. Now, there's 2 key reasons why I would recommend getting yourself a job in tourism. Number 1, a lot of the jobs are seasonal. which means if you're only in the country for a short amount of time, or if you're going to be traveling around a lot, it's going to be absolutely ideal for that situation. And number two is that a lot of the attractions actually give you free entry to lots of other local ones, which is exactly how I got in here today for free, because I work for a local Christchurch attraction. So that's going to save you hundreds of dollars on doing all of the activities and fun things that you want to do. Many of them even offer to bring a friend as well. Number 6 is less of a tip and more of a warning, which is beware the cost. If you're planning to come to New Zealand, you're probably already very aware that it is known as one of the most expensive countries in the world. But I personally was not quite prepared for just how expensive things can be, especially if you are vegan or plant-based. To prove this point, I'm taking you to Pack and Save, supposedly the cheapest of the 3 major grocery brands here in New Zealand. But we're going to head inside, see what the prices are of some of the items and compare them to their UK equivalents to see if that's true. Yeah. New Zealand's expensive. When it comes to fruit and veg, it's actually often cheaper to go to some of the local greengrocers I've found. They often have the same products for a fraction of the price. But when it comes to the specific plant-based alternatives, unfortunately, I'm still yet to find the cheap option. But we don't want to end this video on doom and gloom. So this last tip is definitely not one you're going to want to miss. And it's how you can get back a lot of that money that you've been charged. This is a tip that I can guarantee I've not seen anywhere else, and that's because why would you question it? When you come to New Zealand as a working holiday maker, you have a set tax rate of 19%, so you assume that that's going to be correct. However, that's not necessarily true. See, it turns out that there's still a lot of other options for different tax breaks in this country, and if you earn under a certain amount, you could be due a huge tax refund. And the good thing is, it's super easy to find out. All you have to do is log into your tax account using the same information you set up for your IDR number, and it will literally tell you if you are due a refund. I only worked in this country for 3 months of the last tax year, and I was due a refund of nearly $600. So before you make your way back home, that's definitely something you're going to want to check. But there we go. Those are my tips for you to make sure that you have the best time here in New Zealand and save as much money as possible whilst doing so. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did enjoy or liked any of these tips, a subscribe to the channel would be highly appreciated. So apparently I just got really distracted and didn't finish the outro. So thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Cheers.